Shalom, this is Todd Bennett coming to you from Jerusalem, Israel. It's October 7th, 2015, and I wanted to give you a quick weather report. For those of us who desire to keep Torah and observe the appointed times, the calendar has been a real point of contention over the past years. We know that the rabbinic calendar, followed by most of Judaism, is not correct. It's a tradition, and it was a tradition developed centuries ago when the Jews were exiled from the land. The reason they came up with this tradition was because they were not in the land and they weren't able to sight the new moon. And the first sliver of the new moon was required to determine when the new month began. So because they were not there to make that sighting, they came up with a calculation. Well, now that we're back in the land and we have access to Jerusalem and we can sight a new moon, we don't have any need for a calculation anymore. So in fact, many times there's a new moon and the Jewish calendar is 1 or 2 days off from that. So we know it's not correct, but they did their best in that time and under those circumstances. So now we're looking at a situation where there's contention between those who follow the conjunction and the first sliver. The conjunction is essentially a dark moon. It's a calculation that would have been very difficult for the ancients to perform, and in fact there's no historical evidence that the conjunction was ever used to start the new moon. People though are being drawn to that because they feel that there has to be a precise and a full moon when the feasts begin, which is not necessarily the case, but they're kind of working backwards, and they're coming to the conclusion that they have to begin the month when the moon is in darkness. Well, that contradicts Genesis 1:14, which states that the sun and the moon are made for signs, for appointed times, for days, and for years. So, and signs, we know, it's ot in Hebrew, and it's something that's visible and it's seen. So it's very obvious that we need to see the new moon in order to mark the beginning of our months. It's historically the way it was always done in Israel. That's what was done when Yeshua was here on earth, and we know that Yeshua came against the Pharisees when they were in error because of their traditions, and the calendar was never an issue that he brought up. In fact, he was in the land in Jerusalem observing the feasts when everybody else was. So I think it's safe to say that Yeshua was on the same calendar as everybody else, and that calendar was the sighting of the new moon. So for those of us that have been using the sighting of the new moon, we just finished Sukkot. Now Sukkot is a 7-day feast. It's called our season of joy. It's a time of rejoicing, and we sleep outside under sukkahs at night. And of course, sukkahs are just temporary dwellings, and here's my sukkah, and you can see that the roof has slits and cracks in it, and it's supposed to be a temporary dwelling. It's not supposed to be a permanent structure. And what we want to see during Sukkot, and what we want to experience in Sukkot, is nice, warm, dry nights. And that's what we got this year. It was a beautiful Sukkot weather-wise. So we just finished Sukkot yesterday. I broke down my camp under my sukkah, so because I knew I wasn't going to be sleeping here anymore. And interestingly, the weather really changed yesterday. It got very gloomy, cloudy, and really cooled down yesterday when our Sukkot ended. And lo and behold, it's raining outside right now. And of course, rain is something that you want during this season. In fact, we pray for rain during Sukkot, but you don't want it during Sukkot. You want it as soon as Sukkot is over. And here we are, we're on the 8th day, often called Shemini Atzeret, and we're now experiencing the Yoreh, the first rains. And I look at it as a real confirmation by the Creator that as soon as we were done with Sukkot, those on the correct calendar were protected from the rain, but we were also given the blessing of rain as soon as the feast was over. And so anyways, I just thought that that was a good thing to share with you, that you could see that the Creator is very precise with his calendar. He's right on time, and now we have the blessing of the rain. So I hope you found this report to be helpful, and we're going to try to keep giving you further reports and newsletters at the news site at our website on shemaisrael.net. So this is Todd Bennett from Shema Israel saying Shalom and Hag Sameach.